Welcome to this week's podcast. I'm Tim Weigel with New York State IPM program, also with the Lake Erie Regional Grape Program, and it is the first week in July. And we're about a week late in the Lake Erie region as far as growing conditions go. So it's time to get out and scout for grape rootworm. Typically in a normal year, if there is such a thing as a normal year, we look at growing degree days. If we were looking at average growing degree days, we would have wanted to start scouting for grape rootworm around the second to third week in June. But we're out here. Grape rootworm spends most of its life underground, feeding on grape roots. That's why they call it grape rootworm. But it does emerge. It comes up as an adult. The adult comes up, it feeds on the foliage, it mates, lays eggs, and then when the eggs hatch, the larvae go back down. So we have a very short time frame where it's easy to control this pest. We have a number of insecticides that can be applied against it. We got some FIFRA 2EE recommendations, which you can find on the Lake Erie Regional Grape Program website. So we can control it. What we want to do though is to get out here, scout, time our sprays so we're killing the adults before they lay their eggs. So typically we'll go out because they spend most of their time underneath the canopy in the soil. They'll start feeding when they emerge. They're going to start feeding down on the lower suckers and some of the leaves that are closer to the ground. That'll be the first indication. As you start getting into it, you can see we went through and looked and we saw some of the feeding down on the lower foliage, but then we come up and we start looking and we're seeing where the feeding is up into the canopy now. This, probably a little bit late. We would have liked to have caught it a little bit earlier. So the adult is very difficult to find. It is startled very easily if you're walking around and you're looking at it. If you're able to walk up to a vine and see grape rootworm adults, that means you have a really significant population and probably have let it go too long. So what we have come up with is an easy way to find the adults before they do too much feeding damage. So we have a catching frame. It's about a 2x2 catching frame made out of wood. We covered it with white muslin. We'll take that, we will walk down the vineyard row, we'll throw it underneath next to the canopy, and we'll give the top wire a nice shake. And like I said, they startle easily, so the adults basically pull in their legs, they fall to the ground, they hit the catching frame, and you can see whether or not you have grape rootworm there. So you say, yeah, that's great. I have this catching frame, you expect me to walk all the acres that I have. Well, you don't necessarily have to. Because they feed directly on the roots, what happens is that over time, they lead to a decrease in vine vigor. So you have areas of a vineyard typically that are gonna have decreased vine size. So one of the things you can do, if you haven't already, you can participate in the Efficient Vineyard Project, the loaner sensor program with the Lake Erie Regional Grape Program. Contact one of us. You'll come up with a map. We'll basically get the loaner sensors, we'll put it on any piece of equipment that you're taking through. If you're gonna spray your vineyard, we'll attach it to the tractor, you drive through, we'll come and collect all the equipment. Rianne back at the lab will make a nice map for you. You can take this map, and it's not gonna tell you whether you have 1 pound vines, 2 pound vines, or 3 pound vines, but what it's gonna do is tell you if you have a difference in vine size. So I take this, and what I'm doing is I'll concentrate my scouting with the reds and yellows and oranges and see if I have grape rootworm there. You get a map like this, you can come in, and just because you have a difference in vine size doesn't mean you have grape rootworm. So you take the map, come in, talk to any member of the extension team. We'll be happy to talk to you about it. Go out and look at your vineyard to see what the problem is. It may be that it's a drainage problem. That then we'll work with Kevin Martin to see the economics of getting that fixed. But we've seen in a number of cases where grape rootworm has been the problem. So if you haven't signed up for the loaner sensor program, contact us at the lab. One thing is, I can't tell you, this isn't like rose chafer where I can tell you the lighter sandier soils, the knobs in the vineyards, that's where you need to look. From our experience, grape rootworm is going to be in the heavy soils, the lighter soils. It really doesn't matter. It just, once you have that population there, it tends to get bigger. So if you have a spot where it's feeding, that will continue to get bigger as the population grows. So if you have any questions about grape rootworm, you have suggestions for future podcasts, please leave it in the comment section below.